250 years ago, Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, that America's fight for freedom was not radical rebellion, but simply common sense. He was what we'd call today a social influencer. His pamphlets were handed out by the hundreds of thousands. His call to revolution was debated from taverns in Windsor to coffee houses in Fairfield. But by the end of that year, 1776, his optimism was tempered by hard times. Paine concluded, "These are the times that try men's souls." So 250 years later, we find ourselves again in times that try men's souls. Mass federal agents have descended on Minneapolis, terrorizing communities, tearing families apart. 2 young Americans, a mom and an ICU nurse, shot dead. And some of our folks worry that another government shutdown, sudden federal cuts, what will that mean? No dinner tonight? No roof over their head? Too expensive to take care of a sick child? These are times that try men's souls. And that said, I feel fortunate to be in Connecticut, and I hope that you do too. We were the birthplace of freedom, 4 signers of the Declaration of Independence, penning the words that we live by. All men and women are created equal. These words should still be our North Star 250 years later. I live by these words as I think about our values and our budget. And unlike many other states which are facing federal cuts or a deficit of their own, Connecticut is stepping up to protect our most vulnerable. And we're trying to make life a little less expensive for working families in the middle class who are getting slammed by higher costs. And because we have used Connecticut common sense, we've been able to make up for some of the harsh cuts coming out of the White House. We were among the very first states to backstop food support for working families. You remember those scared faces, long lines at the food pantries? That was just a few months ago. The federal budget could have increased your family's health insurance costs by thousands of dollars, hitting many, many middle-class families. Instead, Connecticut is making up for most of those federal cuts. We saved you money and ensured that Connecticut has more citizens with health insurance today, while the rest of the country has less. And we continue to provide primary care regardless of background, thanks to additional funding for our federally qualified health centers and Planned Parenthood. So when confronted with these cuts, most states said, tough luck, blame the feds, you're on your own. In Connecticut, we assured our residents, we've got your back. And I want to thank the legislature for giving us the resources to protect the most vulnerable. And we still have over $300 million to backfill any other unanticipated cuts coming from Washington. And I respectfully ask all of you to extend that fund through the end of the next fiscal year, because you hope for the best, but you got to be prepared for the worst. All right, that said, we can't make up forever what the federal government used to support. And I hope that the feds and the states can reestablish a new partnership in the year ahead. But I'm not so optimistic. As our country faces government shutdowns and herky-jerky federal policy, the tariffs are on, the tariffs are off, wind power shut down, no, wait a second. The chaos in Washington, D.C. is the opposite of what we're trying to do here in Connecticut together. Governors and legislators are supposed to deliver budgets on time and in balance while the feds are screaming in the wrong direction. Here in Connecticut, working together, we have delivered over 7 balanced budgets in a row, on time. This will be our 7th balanced budget. Let's get it on time. All the while building up a $4 billion rainy day fund in case of a recession, and they do happen. And also paying down over $10 billion in pension debt. Unlike our predecessors who put the pension costs on the credit card for our kids, the next generation, to pay. And by the way, I want to thank Treasurer Russell and the investment team. You know, for the first time in a long time, our investment returns are much higher than the national average, higher than the national average. Hey, they like you. They're higher than the national average, and that's helping our funds go from 35% funded to almost 65% funded. State employees and teachers, your retirement is secure. All right, the Connecticut economy is strong for now. We have faster economic growth, the 4th highest in the country in the last quarter, more new business startups, lower unemployment than most of the nation, all of which contributes to higher state income. And that allows our 2027 budget to increase investments in education and not-for-profits and housing, not to mention the emergency reserve. Look, it's bad for a budget, your family budget, budget of your small business, our state budget. It's bad for any budget to grow faster than your income can support. We've been down that deficit road before. But our strong economic growth allows us to do more without compromising our honestly balanced budget. Look, I get it. Many of you over here want to add a $500 million tax cut, and folks over here want $500 million tax credits, and that just leaves deficits in future years. We've been down that road before. We'll figure out how to pay for it. Been there, done that, not again. But that said, how can we help folks who are suffering through one of the coldest winters in decades, facing enormous heating bills, not to mention inflationary food and housing? Well, thanks largely to 7 very volatile AI, artificial intelligence stocks, the so-called Magnificent Seven, our streaky capital gains revenue is very strong for this year. That said, I propose sending each and every one of you an energy rebate, $200 per person or $400 for a family, to help you and your family manage through these tough times, a $400 energy rebate. Look, every year we've been here, I'm trying to do everything I can to make life a little less expensive and a little more affordable. Look, working families earning a little more sure helps. Remember cheering on those essential workers during COVID? Many of them were earning the minimum wage, which today is almost $17 an hour, up from about $10 an hour when we took office. And after receiving no increase for several years, zeros, our state employees have received a wage increase every year that we've been in office. Look, The employees, look, we appreciate your extraordinary work, and please tell your friends. We need a few more nurses and corrections officers and state police. Look, we've been told by naysayers that the higher wage would crash the economy. Well, instead, a little more money in your pocket is allowing more families to get back on their feet and our economy to prosper. And how about keeping a little more of what you earn? Many of our essential workers receive an expanded money-back earned income tax credit, about $1,000. Thank you, Marty Looney. And the middle class received a $400 million income tax cut, which we did on a bipartisan and sustainable basis. Sustainable. Politicians talk tax cuts. We got it done. Look, our budget eliminates the licensing fees for nurses and the trades. Does a plumber really have to pay to maintain their certification every year? And a few years back, we eliminated the income tax for most of our seniors. Florida's a great place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there. And getting our fiscal house in order has also allowed us to save young and growing families thousands of dollars per year, tens of thousands of dollars in child care costs. Our budget is still in surplus, allowing us to make another sizable deposit in the child care endowment. We're well on our way to making universal early childhood education a reality for all of our families here in Connecticut. Making it just a little bit easier for parents to get back to work, giving your child the very best head start in life. And then your kid is on to some of the best K through 12 schools in the country. I want to ask you, whenever you can, thank a teacher for everything, since we're asking them to do more and more and more and more. Thank your teacher. Thank the teachers. And help your teacher teach. Read to your child at night. And turn off the damn smartphone. I used to carp that smartphones make you stupid. Well, social media can also feed a sense of isolation and persecution and anger. And that's a dangerous psychological cocktail. Look, thanks to you, Connecticut was a leader in getting these phones out of the classroom. Let's go one step further. No phones bell to bell in any of our schools. Not bad. Well, let's work with our neighboring states in requiring that no child under the age of 18 has access to these dangerous apps without parental permission. Protect our kids. Protect our kids. Okay, we tried this last year. Let's try it again. Our budget provides for free school breakfast for all of our students. All of our students. Everybody starts the day right. No shame, no stigma, no empty stomachs. Look, Connecticut has one of the best school systems in the country, but that's not true of all of our schools. So in the coming days, I'm going to sign an executive order create another blue ribbon commission on K through 12 education. It worked for early child care. It's going to work this time as well. This commission is going to be a bottoms-up look at education with a focus on updating funding strategy, including the foundation grant, and making sure more resources go to the classroom. More resources into the classroom. And number two, let's build on our special education reforms, which included $80 million in additional funding in the last session, emphasizing more local and regional options. Better for the kids and saves you money. And third, we have 207 school districts. That doesn't mean we have to replicate every overhead function 207 times. The commission will be focused on saving money for the classroom and the taxpayer. Let's get this done together. All right, so how do you focus on homework if you can't be sure you got a roof over your head? So let's talk about housing. Don't worry, it won't be a 7-hour filibuster. Look, we're making life a little less expensive means more housing in a state where more and more people want to be, as long as they can find a place to call home. Look, our housing market is very tight, which means your home is worth, say, 40% more than it was just 5 years ago. That's good, you're building wealth. But if you don't already own a home, it's also a lot more expensive to rent or buy your home. So we're building more housing in Connecticut than ever, mostly in our larger towns and cities. And thanks to leaders like Jason Rojas and Bob Duff. Thank you, guys. Thanks to leaders like Jason Rojas and Bob Duff, we're trying to make it a little easier and faster and less expensive to build new housing. That's what I call permitting reform. And thanks to mayors and first selectmen, Democrats and Republicans alike, thank you for weighing in on our housing strategy. Towns take the lead. We're going to get it done together. Mayors, you tell us where you want housing and where you don't want housing. Let's say no to building in that open field. How about yes to reimagining that old parking lot, that old mill sitting empty, that half-empty suburban shopping mall, that underused office building, all of which could be retrofitted for housing. And we're talking housing for our seniors who may want to downsize, housing for our nurses and teachers and firemen and cops who want to live in a town they love and where they work. And our budget will continue to prioritize mortgage and time-to-own subsidies for those working in your town. And remember, housing for your kids, for young people, for families, for singles. Okay, when I was younger, 10% of folks lived alone. Today, it's about 30% live alone. Two options. One, build more housing for singles. Two, get married. All right. Every business thinking about moving to Connecticut and expanding here always asks me the same question: workforce housing. When they ask, where will the next generation of workers live? We no longer have to look at our shoes and mumble that we're working on it. Have you visited New London? They've added more new homes in the last 5 years than the last 15 years. Nice going, Mike. Everybody loves New London. And the Naugatuck Valley is booming. More housing alongside more frequent rail service and new train stations, the poster child for transit-oriented development. Focus on housing next to those train stations and busways. We're finding much less need for cars, for parking lots, less traffic, and less cost to you. And by the way, Zillow just announced that Hartford is one of the hottest housing markets in the United States of America. Hartford, where are you? Where's Arunan? And economic growth is good for our state budget, and mayors, a growing economic pie helps your local budget as well. Look, we had decades of shrinking grand lists and shrinking schools. That's driving up the cost of education per student with a smaller tax base to pay those bills. That drives up property taxes. I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. No to more taxes, but yes to more taxpayers. Grow that economic pie. And look, as we work with mayors to reduce your tax bill by expanding the economic pie with more housing and local business, and our budget will also continue to strengthen our COGS. That's the regional back office, so every town doesn't have to hire its own building inspector or its own housing planner, just trying to save you a little bit of money. So yes, our budget builds on our ongoing commitment to municipal aid and pilot programs, resources that have doubled over the last 7 years. But the long-term answer is economic growth and real reform. Let's take energy. The answer isn't just more subsidies or moving costs from the ratepayers onto the backs of the taxpayers. No more rearranging the deck chairs. Our electricity prices have been some of the highest in the country over the last generation or two. We don't have ready access to more energy resources. We're not Texas. This isn't Landman. And demand is picking up as our economy accelerates. Subsidies are a quick fix, but as a business guy, I believe in the power of supply and demand, which impacts costs for everything from housing to energy. Look at energy prices. 7 years ago, we followed the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. Many states unplugged nuclear power and plugged in energy-sucking data centers, driving up prices around the country. And here in Connecticut, we did the exact opposite. We extended our Millstone nuclear agreement and said, let's slow down those new data centers unless they add generation as well. And by the way, that Millstone contract is returning over $100 million to the ratepayers this year. $100 million. You know why? Because the price of natural gas is skyrocketing. Our Energy Regulatory Authority, PURA, they require a constructive relationship with our utilities. But PURA should never be afraid to hold utilities accountable. That's right. Look, utilities deserve a reasonable rate of return for maintenance and upgrade of the grid. And we will continue to scrutinize rates and ensure that ratepayers are only covering costs for infrastructure and energy use. They're no longer paying for Eversource's charitable or contributions, legal, advertising, lobbying expenses. They should be paid for by your shareholders, not our ratepayers. All right, back to supply and demand. I continue to believe that energy efficiency reduces demand and reduces your electric bills. Caulking and insulation, they can save you hundreds of dollars. It also reduces demand on the grid. It was zero new carbon emissions. Meanwhile, we're adding supply with Quebec Hydro and Revolution Wind ready to turn on very, very soon. And we're still awaiting We're still awaiting that proposal from the pipeline companies. The White House threatens to put a tariff on Canadian energy, and that stop, start on wind only drove up costs for you. So I want to personally thank all of you and many of you for standing up loud and clear, saying that these erratic federal policies are no way to run a business. And thanks to some legal help from the energetic Attorney General Tong, we got the wind power turned back on. The turbines are spinning. Supply and demand. More housing reduces the cost of housing. More generation reduces the cost of electricity. More economic growth reduces taxes. We're making progress. We still have a way to go. I highlighted more housing and electricity as affordability priorities over the last years. Accelerating healthcare costs are the looming iceberg on our radar system. Don't applaud that. Look, just as we're getting our pensions under control, healthcare costs are eating more and more of our budget, especially Medicaid, retiree healthcare costs, budget for your school board or small business. We can't wait for innovations from the feds. So far, those reforms from the White House include increasing insurance premiums on the exchange and cutting Medicaid, so any increase is borne by the states. And all the while, our population is getting a little older and hospitalizations are way up. But we have not been waiting. Sean Scanlon has been on this for years. Not bad. And his healthcare guy, Josh Wojcik, is now our interim OPM secretary. Let's get rid of that interim soon. And getting control over healthcare spending is a big reason why. So Sean and Josh and Andrea Barton-Reeves are working hand in hand to find efficiencies on both the state employee plan and Medicaid that will bend the cost curve and save taxpayers money and keep health care affordable. Here is just one example. The cost of one of the most commonly prescribed drugs, brand name drugs, for plaque psoriasis just kept rising and rising and rising. By switching to the generic version, Sean saved our plan $15 million this year and hopefully $50 million a year by year 3. All with the same or better outcomes, and that's just one drug. At a time of rising costs, we're doubling down on what we've always done, being tough as nails on medical fraud and looking under the hood for big savings wherever we can. And let's work together on the Connecticut option. Let me tell you what it is first. This plan will encourage state employees and retirees and small business to go to hospitals where you get the best value. Because, you know, some hospitals charge 50% more than others for the exact same outcome. We'll be able to offer health care with no co-pays or deductibles if you sign up for the Connecticut option, saving you money, saving the state money, and making sure our top-line health care is affordable for you. Let's work on this together. Labor and business, hospitals and insurance. Don't let the lobbyists scare you. We can and will finally move to universal, affordable health care here in the state of Connecticut. Rather than pushing people off health care, we'll make sure that you're taken care of. All right, look, I've been around for a while, and never I've seen the world so divided, people so divided, drilling down on what separates us rather than what we have in common. That's true of people and politics, and also true of policing. I want to give a shout out to the Connecticut State Police and the Connecticut Thank you for standing. For the Connecticut State Police and their brothers and sisters in the municipal police forces as well. Because they are by, for, and of the community, keeping you safe like looking out for a neighbor. Cops are best when they can afford to live in the community where they serve. Many of them know the kids from the Police Athletic League, and the kids know them. Innovation from Waterbury. Thank you, Waterbury. We have perhaps the best trained police force in the world, making Connecticut one of the very safest states. ICE is just the opposite. They see the world as us versus them. They're not trained to de-escalate. I think they're barely trained at all. They hide behind a mask. They come to Connecticut, Minneapolis, to arrest people outside of schools, courthouses, often based upon the color of their skin. Some of our Hispanic kids are scared to go to school. Those kids at Wilbur-Cross High School in New Haven, we call them dreamers. The White House calls them criminal aliens. That young mother shot twice in the head in Minneapolis. The White House called her a domestic terrorist. She reminded me of my daughter. Connecticut is protecting our schools and courthouses where people go not to break the law because they're following the law. ICE, everywhere you go uninvited, violence follows. Go home. We're keeping our Connecticut safe without you. Yes, these are the times that try men's souls. But Thomas Paine went on to warn that when the going gets tough, the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from service to their country. He warned what he called tyranny sneaking up on us step by step because good people didn't speak out. I also believe that he'd feel at home in Connecticut. We're staying true to our founding principles of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, where all men and women are created equal. I think he would have been as moved as Susan and I were during the swearing-in ceremony for the new mayor of Norwich, Connecticut. It's a beautiful town hall, not quite as old as our country. and all lit up. It's a backdrop to many a Hallmark Christmas movie. The ceremony was packed, including our first Native American legislator, Larry Pemberton. Welcome, Larry. It's about time. That same ceremony, the walls were lined with photographs of former mayors, a bunch of old white guys looking down on the crowd, and they saw turbans and colorful garb celebrating their Sikh heritage. Since Mayor Singh is our first mayor of Sikh heritage. This is America. Norwich has a rich history, first settled by Native Americans. Puritan revolutionaries to build the ships. Later, the Irish built the railroads. Eastern Europeans came to work in the mills. Later, the Sikhs from Punjab running the stores. Today, there are 25 different languages spoken in Norwich, Connecticut. And for Mayor Singh's swearing-in ceremony, everybody put their hand on their heart and said, "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America." That's the Connecticut I love. That's the America that we fight for. God bless America and the great state of Connecticut.